The following content is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Hello, and welcome to Always Another Way podcast. My name is Marina Spragge-Spriggs, and I'm your host. I have a master's in professional counseling, and I am the IPPY Award-winning author of Stop Looking for a Husband, Find the Love of Your Life, and Nasty Divorce, A Kid's Eye View. I write positive divorce advice for the HuffPost, and I'm trained in clinical hypnosis. And this podcast speaks to out-of-the-box thinkers, and it's for those who hear the call of hope and always another way. And if you're very rigid and set in your beliefs, this is probably not your cup of tea. However, you should note, tastes can and do change. And I am so excited to talk to my next podcast guest. And I forget how I actually just found them, but we're going to be talking about the Lucia No3 Hypnagogic light machine. And so I'm into, I do clinical hypnosis, into interesting experiences that you cannot define. So ones with imagination, dreaming, psychedelics, and kind of other interesting things. And then saw this light, which is a drug-free experience. But I'm going to bring my guest on and we're going to talk about it because you've probably never heard of something as cool as this. So Allison Pelissier was guided by an unquenchable curiosity and powerful desire to participate in positive change. She has followed a path through political economics, psychology, yoga, international education and development to arrive where she is now with tools for expanding consciousness. The first experience Allison had with the Lucia No3 Hypnagogic light was life-changing. And it is an honor and immense pleasure for her to share this incredible experience with others. Allison travels all over the world, joyfully holding space for self-empowerment, self-exploration, self-love, deep healing and growth in one-to-one sessions, group journeys, workshops, and trainings. So welcome to the show, Allison.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so I'm just so excited. But to tell people when they're thinking, okay, a light, what is the Lucia No3 Hypnagogic light?
Absolutely. So the Lucia.
How do you pronounce it the right way? Should have asked that.
All the ways are right,
okay,
as the inventors say. So it's a powerful experience that, as you mentioned, is coming from just light. So in fact, it is a lamp that has a central halogen bulb and 8 LEDs surrounding it. And this experience is one where you lay back, you close your eyes, the solid light opens the space, and the flickering light begins to take you on a journey deep within. Now, since the beginning of time, we have looked at fires, done candle meditations, and had experiences with flickering light. And the Lucia, in that sense, is no different. By using flickering light, we can get into the rhythms of our brain and go to deeper states of consciousness.
Cool beans. So how was this all developed, or who thought, okay, we can take this, make it into something that was useful? What's behind the idea of the light this way?
Absolutely. So the idea for the Lucia No3 began with a near-death experience. Dr. Engelbert Winkler, who is in Austria, had an experience when he was young where he nearly died, and he went to as many describe, a very beautiful place of light. It was a place that was beyond this earthly plane, and he felt rejuvenated, restored, and felt a curious lack of fear of death in the future. When he came back, he spent many years dedicated to interviewing other people who had near-death experiences, as well as, becoming a psychotherapist himself and a hypnotherapist, and working with different ways of getting people to understand and feel that there's a space beyond just this, and there's nothing to fear when it comes to death. He started by working with just solid light and having patients close their eyes and really imagine that they were going into the light, into a space beyond. Then he teamed up on a late night conversation with Dr. Dirk Prockel, who's also originally from Germany, but was living in Austria as well. And Dirk suggested that perhaps they could bring in flickering light. As a neurologist, he understood how brain entrainment can occur with flickering light as one of the methods of taking you there. So together they worked to create what is now the Lucia No3. And to their surprise and amazement, it really was a transcendent portal. While everyone has a totally different experience, the colors, patterns, and really dimensional spaces that you go to in the Lucia No3 are very unique and beautiful and profound.
Cool. Let's talk more about that. And on there, and I'll put the website and everything in show notes, you have, videos of people kind of talking about all that. But what are some of the, we'll talk first about the experiences people have when they go in it. So what can you expect? So you come in to a place, and how does it work? Do you get the light? Do you go somewhere? And how does that look when you set up a session to experience it?
Absolutely. So for the first session, we usually recommend people dedicate an hour to the whole experience. And you can find the Lucia No3 at different wellness centers, sometimes at flotation tank or sensory deprivation centers. There's some retreat centers that use it, and also people like me who travel around sharing the experience at multiple different venues. So you kind of come in and first, you get acquainted with what the experience is going to be about. So you're told that you're going to close your eyes, and you begin with a 2-minute session. And this 2 minutes is just kind of a little taste of the experience. So you just close your eyes, lean back. You're usually guided in a bit of breath work to kind of relax your body into this new experience. And then the light turns on. So it begins usually with this warm glow that is reminiscent of the sun. Maybe you're at the beach, maybe you're relaxing in the park, that amazing feeling that you have when your eyes are closed and you feel this warmth and this light. From there, the flickering begins, and each person's journey is totally unique. The 2-minute session is the first little demo. For some people, this is quite intense already, and they choose to stay at about this level of intensity, which has to do with the brightness of the light and kind of the flicker rate and kind of the intensity of the flicker. Other people choose to do a 5-minute session after this, where it is more intense and goes through a few stages of increasing intensity. And from this point, the light guide or light attendant chooses a session. So there's over 150 different sessions. And while they have names, it's more to do with kind of the resonance of the intensity of the experience that the person would like at that time. And more intense is not always better, but rather it's about tuning into the sensitivity of your body to light. And then the longer session begins, and this is really where the real journey is. And each person, as I mentioned, has a different experience because we are all very different. And even if you did the same session over and over again, you would have a totally unique and different experience. And that's one of the magical parts about it. There's often people see colors, patterns, and they can go into different experiences. But by the end, the overall consensus is a sense of deep relaxation. Some people are immediately relaxed and just go deeper and deeper and deeper into that state. Other people kind of confront a bit of anxiety or fear within themselves and find through their breath, through the continuing of the journey, that they can really let that go and really release something there. But yes, by the end, there's a lot of clarity. People who are aware of energy and open to that type of understanding of being often feel kind of cleansed or like cleared. So often if we take on other people's energy or we hold on to stress from certain situations, it's in our field, so to say. It's just something that's kind of bothering us. And, you know, if you have a really intense day and all these things keep happening, then you get to that last straw event and it can push you over the edge. But this is kind of understanding how we can really clear out all of those little irritations and frustrations along the path of sometimes confronting them and sometimes simply seeing the joy and beauty of our own, what we call cosmic reflection and delight. For each person sees different colors, patterns, different things, and it's absolutely unique to you.
Very, very cool. And you sort of touched a little bit on some of the benefits you get, but what can somebody expect to feel or benefits they can receive after a session, after sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, as each person is really different, it really ranges. A lot of people report, you know, a lot of creative inspiration or just joy for life. And again, if you're kind of coming in with low energy, exhaustion, depression, these kinds of feelings, then often you'll feel a great sense of lightness and excitement and joy. And some people could feel so much energy. On the other hand, if you're already overextending yourself and you aren't creating that space for self-care and for relaxation, then you can be tired afterwards. You can feel so peaceful, but just also needing to rest, like to process the experience and also just give your body what it's asking for, that you're not necessarily creating the time and space to experience.
Yeah. And so when you do this, do you is it something you just do? Do you just do once? Do you do it weekly, multiple times, or for experiential type things? How many times do you think is like recommended to do that, or is it almost like kind of, you know, maintenance with things like the way you would meditate? You don't just meditate once, you know, or do yoga once. You do things multiple times.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely recommend that people have multiple experiences. Usually at least a series of 6 sessions with the Lucia light can really see a profound shift. And by a shift, we really mean just kind of lowering your baseline of stress overall in your life so that you just wake up feeling different. And this also relates to a meditation practice because, you know, some people say, oh, it's just like meditation, or they compare it to some other type of journey. And it is and it's not, because I don't think it's a replacement exactly for meditation or yoga or any of these other practices that we do on a more consistent basis. But the Lucia number 3 is a deep journey. Some people, you know, you can have an incredible experience just one time, but often with such things, if you continue going, you go deeper and deeper. And as someone who's worked with the lamp, including with sessions for myself for over 4 years now, I've really seen that every session is different and I keep going deeper and deeper. And it's amazing because a lot of things are kind of the opposite. You know, if you drink coffee in the morning, then you can start pushing it and you need more and more coffee to have the same feeling. And the Lucia is totally different than that. So again, it varies from person to person, but we do definitely recommend, if you're interested in a profound shift and something that's a little more, that's really going to stay in your life and be reflected in the way that you are moving forward, we recommend a series of 6 sessions.
Very, very cool. Like what just, and it's something you just really have to experience personally to kind of just see how it works. And I'm going to have to try to find a place. I saw there was one in Austin. I live in Dallas. To kind of find one to go try. And is there anything else? So people are listening, and I'm all about these type of experiences, and just in our life in general. If you can just look around at the climate today, we are living in extremely stressful times. And to get something else out when people are stuck, to make that mental shift, and something it's drug free, it's a light, it's relaxing, and it just seems like a win-win to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something exciting, because there's so many technologies in our life that are kind of draining. We look at our phone, we're on computers all the time, and this is just blue LED light. And so we kind of associate all technology with this kind of feeling. And I think it's really exciting that there's all these new technologies coming out that are helping us achieve greater states of awareness, of expansion, of relaxation, and they're tools for our consciousness, and things that we can go to and really have these profound experiences without needing to put any, drugs or anything foreign into our body at all. This is simply just you. You are a being of light. And so what you're seeing is really your own reflection in the light. The beautiful colors and everything that you experience is you, and it reminds you of that on a very deep level. And it's exciting that there are these types of technologies and ways for people to have experiences that take them beyond their ordinary state of being, that are becoming more accessible and spoken about.
Nice. And so with that, because that's just like wrapped up in a bow right there. But what is there anything else that maybe we didn't talk about that you would want our listeners to know?
I would like to share my personal experience with encountering the Lucia number 3. I was not really open to a lot of what I considered to be very woo-woo and out there things. And in fact, I was very kind of hardened to receiving help at all. And I went through a very challenging period in my own life, and went into a really deep depression and started kind of suffering from a lot of PTSD symptoms of like really intense nightmares, and I couldn't sleep, and then I had kind of insomnia, and I just felt really detached from the world. And a dear friend of mine invited me to come. I was actually in England in grad school at the time, and he invited me to come to experience this light. And I had no idea what it was or what that meant in any way, but somehow it resonated with me. And I would say to anyone who hears this and feels that, even if you still are like, I have no idea what they're talking about, but if you feel something inside of you that says, maybe you should check that out, I would recommend really trying it, because I followed that little intuition, even though it seemed very distant and it seemed like a lot of work to get myself to even show up. And it was actually at an art gallery. And so for me, because they were saying it's neuro art, which is definitely a beautiful aspect of the experience. And so I said, okay, I could use some exciting art. Maybe this will do something for me. And what I experienced was something so profound. I really went deep on that first journey. And I went and actually saw my father, who had passed away. We were in a lake on a boat, and we were and he said, it's all okay. It's so good that you should be happy, like cherish the happiness instead of holding on to the sadness.
Wow.
And it really touched me. And I came out of the light experience. I was like, what was that? Like, it made me laugh. It made me cry. I went so far, and I realized I had come back to myself. I realized that I was, I'm a happy person, and I was excited about things. And I just think there is something to that. It's not like every single session, again, has that depth of experience, because sometimes we put up blocks within ourselves that only allow us to go so far. I think I was taken, and that's the point of doing a series of sessions. But sometimes too, like if your spirit is open to it and you really allow it, it can take you there. It can take you by surprise and show you the depths of experiences that are possible. And for me, I started sleeping for the first time in over 6 months. I slept through the night. Wow. After my first session, and all the nightmares went away. And it was really kind of a spiritual awakening for me in a lot of ways, in the sense that I realized, that a lot of the pains and different things we deal with on this level, whether it's sickness or, mental health imbalances or things like that, it's often a spiritual crisis. There's something that we can resolve in a deep way inside of ourselves. And it's amazing how quickly it can transform into the third dimensional reality when we reach it at the core place. And I think that's what's so exciting about a lot of these new advances, the other ways that you present here that are so powerful, is that, there is another way, and there is a chance to tune in really deep within ourselves and connect with ourselves and remember who we are, and let go of those things, the pains from the past, or the things that are holding us back from stepping into our full power.
Oh, right on. And I'm a therapist, and so I just truly believe all that stuff too. And the change really does have to come from within, and to have that experience yourself, it makes me want to kind of drive to Austin right now. Except for I have to pick up kids, but can't do that. So, yeah, just so super amazing. And just thank you so much for sharing your story. And I like it that you, and probably like most people who hear stuff like this, I'm very open to this kind of stuff, but a lot of people hear the woo woo or like, oh, what is that? But to be open to something it's not going to hurt you. It's a light, it's drug free, but to be open to an experience that could be as life changing as the one that you talked about, and the one that I see on the ones that I've seen on testimonials that y'all have on your website. It just seems to me something it could just change the world if everybody went back and could get back to themselves, their true purpose, that love, that light, that we are all connected. Just what a cooler place this could end up being.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, I just want to thank you so very much for being on the show, for sharing the story, and for just telling everyone about this light experience that I think a lot of people do not know about. And to share just the openness of trying something and connecting to ourselves, and the way to peace and happiness is always available. It's
Absolutely.
within.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Oh, and where can everybody find? What are a couple places we can go to if we want to? I want to go get a light. I want to go get a session. Where can people find this?
So if you go to our main homepage, which is lucialightexperience.com, and then you can click on, I think it's book a session, and there's a list of all of our light portals, we call them, or light salons that offer the Lucia experience.
Great. Well, I will put that in the show notes. And thank you again for being on the show. And everybody, check out that light, because I know I'm going to. And you know that there is always another way.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing so much.